Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Ted Alejandre is joining us. He was recently elected Superintendent of San Bernardino County. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
It's interesting because you were elected in June outright. You don't have to go to a general. You assume office when?
In January 2015.
So it's a 6-month waiting period, not a 2-month waiting period. Let's talk about winning outright. How'd you do that?
It was just a great team effort. We had a lot of support throughout San Bernardino County, and our message was strong. It resonated with voters. We want to do what we can for all the students in San Bernardino County, and that message was, resonated throughout the county, and the support was phenomenal.
And your predecessor did not run for re-election.
That's correct.
So presumably you're working with your predecessor over the 6-month period. There's no animosity or anything like that.
None at all. It's very collaborative. We want to make it a smooth transition, and we want to make it effective so in January it can hit the ground running.
Right. I want to talk about what are the main focus of school districts today throughout the state of California, and it's what's known as the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan.
Yes.
As part of the local control funding formula, which changes the way that schools are funded, focusing on certain categories, English language learners, economically disadvantaged, foster kids. If you have more of those kids, you get more funding.
That's correct.
But there's still an issue of discretion, and that's where the LCAP comes into play. What does the LCAP ask school districts to do?
Well, the Local Control Accountability Plan, the LCAP, is a requirement for every school district, and they have to follow the criteria that's developed by the state that really focuses on 3 areas: student outcomes, engagement. Those are key issues that districts have to focus on, and all the outcomes, all the LCAPs have to come to the county office for approval. So we're deep into that review process right now.
And the way the LCAPs work is literally the stakeholders meet with district officials, and you have 33 districts within your county.
That's
so
correct.
there are 33 different districts getting feedback from the stakeholders, parents, teachers, whomever it may be, and then the district presents that feedback to the county office, is that right?
They actually present it to their school board, so the school board can approve the district LCAP.
Okay.
And that community input is the exciting part about the LCAP, because as you mentioned, all districts are doing that. And Colton Unified, for example, they have a community cabinet, so they meet regularly with their community cabinet, and the cabinet consists of police, fire, businesses, faith-based. They get together with the district officials and teachers, administrators, and talk about the priorities of the district. And as they receive those priorities and determine what's best for their student, then the funding that comes with LCFF goes to support the goals and objectives in the LCAP.
But the county office is reviewing all of the plans. Is there authority, or is this part of a information gathering?
It's actually a mandate that we have that does come with some authority. We have the authority to either approve or disapprove an LCAP. And our requirement is to follow the state guidance, which really every district has to follow in terms of ensuring that LCAP is done on the template that's provided by the state and meets those criteria that's developed by the state and required by the state.
I have to think that with 33 school districts, you are seeing certain trends.
Yes.
You are seeing the same comments coming up over and over. What are you hearing and seeing?
Well, in our county, we have many high-needs students, and so we're seeing some trends emerge in the LCAPs that are coming in. One of the trends is the implementation of Common Core standards. We're seeing districts look at how to prepare their teachers and provide professional development and training so that teachers can include instructional practices that are most effective for their students. Along with that is a selection of materials that are aligned to Common Core. That's one emphasis item. Another is the implementation of technology into the school. How can it most effectively be implemented so that students can be successful and the technology supports the instructional program? The other is career pathways. We're seeing districts really start to build career pathways so that students have relevance in their education, especially at secondary schools. For example, the implementation of health career pathways, the implementation of engineering pathways. Those are starting to emerge throughout the county. Also, another big one is social indicators, self-esteem indicators. We have many students that need a lot of emotional and social support. They come to school with many difficulties, with many issues that need to be supported. And so that's become a trend, and it follows our county-wide Cradle to Career roadmap that's aligned with our county government's vision. That's an indicator that's starting to really emerge in the county.
I want to focus on Common Core. Common Core has been coming for quite some time. It's interesting because there are some activists on the right side of the political ledger that have recently come out strongly against Common Core. Are you hearing pushback as a result of, we'll call it the chatter on the right relating to Common Core?
There's some, especially on the campaign trail, people that were not in favor of Common Core would ask me why I would support it. And I basically told them these are world-class standards that our businesses have been asking for many years.
What seems to be the overriding theme of the opponents?
One of the primary issues, at least that came to me, was that this was a national effort that didn't give states the local ability, the rights, if you will, to determine what the best standards were for that individual state. This Common Core standards have been developed in conjunction with many states and governors, so it's a national push. But the standards themselves are determined based upon how the states want to implement it for the particular state.
That's what I understood.
Yes.
And while Common Core is coming in, LCFF is coming in, and LCAP is coming in, which emphasizes local control and discretion.
Right.
I mean, we've eliminated all of, not all, but most of the categoricals which mandated certain actions. So it seems a bit incongruous that here in California, at least, it seems as if districts are getting more control, and Common Core is not working in contravention of that. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. Districts have that local control, local flexibility, and they determine how they want to implement Common Core. Now, obviously, as the assessment system comes out, and this was the first year that it was field tested in California, districts want to make sure their students are prepared for these new assessments. And those assessments are centered on Common Core standards.
There is one frustration I've heard about the new assessments, and that is this year was a field test, and I understand that. But no results are being issued. I mean, how are you supposed to know how the field test went if no results are being issued? I understand that you don't want to tar a student or a teacher with results when it's such a new program, but you got to be able to learn something from the results. Help me out.
One of the biggest changes was that all these assessments were done through technology. They were done online.
I understand.
And so because of that, it was a field test. But districts have so many other assessments that take place in their district, benchmark assessments, for example, that take place periodically. Districts have other ways to determine and assess how students are progressing. Standardized tests are one part of that.
Yes.
So I believe that when these scores are now reported next year when they take the test, districts will be fully prepared and ready for that.
That being said, anecdotally, if I may say, what did you hear about the field test from the students themselves, from the teachers if they heard chatter?
We were pleased. I talked to several teachers and administrators from districts throughout the county, and they thought it went well. One of the concerns was having the bandwidth and the infrastructure for the technology, but that seemed to go very well. And one of our district newspapers out in the high desert actually interviewed students taking the test. And what the students told them was, wow, these tests really make me think. And that's one of the key issues in Common Core, is to develop those critical thinking skills.
What about the adaptive nature of the test? Were they adaptive this year in that if you got a certain question correct, you'd get a harder question, a certain question incorrect, you'd get an easier question?
Yes. Yes, the adaptive process has begun.
And any feedback on that, or were the students even aware that they were taking a test that was adaptive?
I don't believe that's centered in the discussions when they worked with students. I think teachers just tried to prepare students the best they could, make them feel at ease, make them feel ready to take the test, especially with the new technology
and
challenges.
what about the technology? I mean, I bet the students knew the technology better than we would, but be that as it may, how did the students handle the technology?
In my discussions, they handled it very well.
The iPad, was it iPads or was it?
It was iPads in some
laptops?
cases, it was labs in other cases, it was other devices, Chromebooks, for example, were used. So it depended upon how the district wanted to present it, but overall it went well.
His name is Ted Alejandre. He is the Superintendent-Elect in San Bernardino County. My name is Brad Pomerance, and this is California Edition.